up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing an Ashened deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is an extremely powerful deck that I've included all sorts of spicy tech cards in this build for you guys. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Vados. Vados is definitely a 3-of in the build, and it's an amazing boss monster that we can actually hand to our opponent. With the ability during the main phase, if this card is in your hand, quick effect, you can actually target one card in the field spell zone and special summon this card to your opponent's side of the field, and if you do, destroy that target. Then you can add to your hand or set an Ashen Continuous Trap directly from your deck, which is an awesome ability to help us get to a copy of Ashen for Eternity or Ashen to Endlessness. This card also has the ability, in this card, is sent from your opponent's field to the graveyard. You can destroy all monsters on the field, which is a really powerful effect to help you board wipe all the monsters. We then play 3 copies of Priestess of the Ashen City. Priestess is an amazing 3-of in the build because this card is basically the Stratos of the deck. And all of our Ashened monsters actually share an amazing common ability, and if Obsidian is in the field spell zone, you can actually special summon this card from your hand, but you can only special summon them once per turn this way. When this card is ability in this card is normal or special summon, you can actually add an Ashen card from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. We play a single copy of Hero of the Ashen City. This card is a really powerful 1-of in the deck because during the main phase, quick event, you can actually target a Pyro monster on the field and destroy him. Then if you destroyed a copy of Vados by this effect, you can actually place an Obsidian from the deck face up on your field spell zone, which is a pretty cool effect. We play a single copy of King of the Ashen City. King is great as a 1-of in the build, but you only need a single copy of this card as well. And this card's ability during the main phase, you can actually special summon an Ashen monster from the hand, except a copy of King, or if your opponent controls a monster with 2800 or more attack, you can special summon it from the deck instead, which is a pretty cool ability that basically if your opponent controls a copy of Vados, you can special summon a copy of an Ashen monster directly from your deck, which is usually going to be your copy of Hero if you don't already have it on the field. We then play a single copy of Shaman of the Ashen City. This card is really good as a 1-of in the build and just an awesome card overall. It actually lets you target 3 of your power monsters that are banished and are in the graveyard and shuffle them in the deck. Then if you shuffled a copy of an Ashen monster, you can actually add a copy of Obsidian from your deck to your hand, which is a pretty cool effect. We then play 2 copies of Queen of the Blazing Domain. Queen is such a powerful 2-of in the deck and a really awesome card to be able to play, as this card is actually searchable and has one of the best artworks in the entire game. When this card's ability cannot be destroyed by card effects, and this card is in your hand, you can actually target up to 2 cards that you control, including a face-up spell or trap card, and destroy them. And then you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you only destroyed 1, you return this card back to your hand during the end phase of the next turn, or if you destroyed 2, this card gains the ability that any monster sent from the field to your opponent's graveyard is banished instead, which is such a powerful ability. Help you basically just summon this card out to your side of the field as a 3000 attack point monster that basically banishes your opponent's monsters when they touch the grave. We then play 2 copies of Ice Ryzeal. The Ryzeal engine is really powerful in the deck to help us go for our copies of Banshee and a copy of Detonator, but this card is basically the tour guide of the Ryzeal cards, where the ability in this card is normal summon. You can special summon a Ryzeal monster in the deck, except another copy of Ice Ryzeal, which is a pretty cool effect. We then play 2 copies of Sword Ryzeal. Sword is really good as a 2-of in the build because this card has the ability, if you have a Ryzeal monster on the field or in the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a light Pyro monster from your deck to your hand. We play a single copy of EXT Ryzeal. This card is crazy good as a 1-of because this card is ability you can special summon this card from your hand by sending an XZ monster from your X deck to the graveyard, and if this card is normal or special summon and you control no other face-up monsters except level or rank 4 monsters, you can add a Fire Thunder monster from your deck to your hand, which is a really powerful ability. We then play a single copy of Node Ryzeal. Node Raziel is just really good as an extender in the build because if you have an XZ monster on the field or in the grave, you can actually special summon this card from your hand, and also when this card's on your side of the field, you can actually send a card from your hand or field to the graveyard, and then target a Raziel monster in the graveyard and special summon in defense position, but negate its effects, which is a really powerful ability to instantly get us an additional monster out on the field. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's definitely a 3 of in the build to basically just stop the opponent from touching the deck. We then play 3 copies of Molcharmy Fluros. Fluros is awesome in this build to basically help us dig in the deck for the exact cards that we need. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good as a 1-0 in the build to basically just stop our opponent's hand traps where we're going in for all of our plays. I'm playing a single copy of Bonfire. Bonfire is basically a rota for the deck and an amazing 1-of in the build. I'm playing a single copy of Extinguishing the Ashen. Extinguishing is really good as a 1-of in the build because this card lets us send a Dark Pyro monster from our deck to the graveyard, and then you can add a level 5 or higher Pyro monster from your graveyard to your hand. But for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon the X deck except for Pyro monsters. Also, you can banish a card from the graveyard to be able to fusion summon a Pyro Fusion monster from your X deck using monster in your hand or field as material, which is a pretty cool ability to help us go in for our copies of Embers or a copy of the Vados Dragon of Endless Darkness. We play a single copy of Raziel Plugin. Plugin is really good as a monster reborn that's searchable for the Raziel cards. We play a single copy of Raziel Cross. This card is a crazy powerful field spell that actually lets us mid-chain negate, which is absolutely crazy, and also recycle our Raziel cards so we can actually get a draw, which is so cool. This card is definitely a 1-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Chaotic Elements. Chaotic Elements is basically Rhoda in the deck as well, because this card lets us add a level 5 or higher monster that's a Dark Pyro or a Light Aqua monster from our deck or graveyard to our hand. Also, then, if you have 3 or more Pyro and or Aqua monsters in the graveyard, you can actually destroy 1 card on the field, and if your opponent controls a monster that's Light or Dark, Pyro or Aqua, you can banish a card in the graveyard to target a monster your opponent controls and take control of it until the end of the turn, which is insane to actually use that effect with our copy of Vados. This card is great to search our copy of Queen of the Blazing Domain, or our copy of Vados directly from our deck to our hand on this card's effect, and also use its effect to actually take control of one of our opponent's monsters using its bonus ability if our opponent controls Vados, which is absolutely insane. We then play 3 copies of Awakening of Vados. Awakening is really good as a 3-of in the build because this card lets us place an Obsidian from our deck face up in either player's field zone. Then if your opponent controls a card in their field zone, meaning you want to hand your opponent your copy of Obsidian, you can actually add a level 5 or higher Dark Pyro monster from your deck to your hand. And for the rest of the turn out of this card resolves, you cannot special summon the deck of the X deck except for Pyro monsters, which is totally fine. We then play 3 copies of Inferno of the Ashen. Inferno is really good as a 3-of in the build because when this card is activated, you should actually place a copy of Obsidian from your deck face up in either player's field zone, and you also target a face up card that your opponent controls and a level 8 or higher Dark Pyro monster in your graveyard, and send that card on the field to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon that other monster from your grave to your opponent's field in defense position, which is a great effect to be able to use, but you can only use this effect of this card once per turn, and you only activate one of this card per turn as well. We then play 3 copies of Obsidian, the Ashen City. The entire deck basically revolves around this one card, and this card is so cool as a field spell. It's face up, special summon monsters that your opponent controls become Pyro during your turn only. And you can only use each of the following effects this card once per turn during the end phase, and actually target a copy of Obsidian in the graveyard, place it on the bottom of the deck, and then draw a card. And in this card is in the field zone is destroyed or banished, you can actually special summon an Ashen monster directly from your deck to your side of the field, which is awesome to be able to use that effect with Vados to pop this card. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 2, starting off with a single copy of Ashen to Endlessness. This card is really good to be able to get to with your copy of Vados, because during the main phase you can actually fusion summon a Pyro Fusion monster from your Egg using monsters from either player's field as material, including a copy of Vados. And if you do, it gains 500 attack for each material used to summon that card. Also, you can banish this card and a Dark Pyro monster from your graveyard, and all monsters your opponent currently controls become Pyro until the end of the turn, which is a pretty interesting effect. And then a copy of Ashened for Eternity. Ashened for Eternity is great as a 1-of in the build as well to be able to get to this card with your copy of Vados, because this card is usually, when this card is activated, you can add a copy of Vados or an Ashen monster from your graveyard to your hand. And also target a face-up monster that your opponent controls that you own, basically Vados, and take control of that monster. Then you can make all face-up monsters that your opponent currently controls lose attack equal to their targeted monster's original attack, which is 2,800. And this attack change lasts until the end of the turn, which is such a powerful ability to be able to use to basically just take control of our copy of Vados and drop our opponent's monster's attack points down by 2,800. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Vados, the Dragon of Endless Darkness. This card is such an awesome card with such a metal name. This card has the ability to take a copy of Vados plus 2 level 9 or lower Pyro monsters. It cannot be destroyed by card effects, and also your opponent cannot target it with monster effects. And when this card is special summoned, you can actually destroy all spells and traps that your opponent controls, which is a pretty powerful effect. Your copy of Vados will actually destroy monsters. Also, when your opponent activates a card effect on the field, quick effect, you can actually send a face-up Ashen card you control to the graveyard to destroy that card. We then play 2 copies of Ember of the Ashen. Ember of the Ashen is great as a 2-of in the build because this card comes out at 2,900, and in this card is fusion summon. You actually target a field spell in the graveyard and add it to your hand, and at starting the damage step, in this card battles an opponent's Pyro monster and destroy that opponent's monster. And if it's your turn, you can actually make a second attack in a row, which is a pretty cool ability. We play a single copy of Ryzeal Detonator. This card is amazing to be able to summon because it can pop multiple cards on the field, and it's super easy to summon using the Ryzeal engine. We then play a single copy of Duo Drive. Duo Drive is great in the deck as a 1-of to give us our searches for the exact Ryzeal cards that we need. We play a single copy of Eclipse Twins. Eclipse Twins is great in this deck to basically just use this card to recover a copy of Detonator just in case we need to. And then a single copy of Bagooska. Bagooska is great in this deck as a 1-of to basically just slow down the game just in case we need to. Then a single copy of Banshee. Banshee is awesome in the deck as a 1-of to basically just use this card to search out the exact Pyro monster that we need. And then a single copy of Number 60. Number 60 is really good as a 1-of build because this card lets us basically draw 2 cards and discard a card, especially when a monster in the grave in defense, or double the attack of a monster that we control until the end phase so we can swing in for game. Then a single copy of Aggregator. Aggregator is great to be able to send to the graveyard with our copy of EXT, so we can attach this card to our copy of Detonator, which is so cool to be able to do. Then a single copy of Typhon. Typhon is great in the deck as a 1-of to basically use this card as a skill drain for 3,000 attack point monsters or a bounce. And then a single copy of Underworld Goddess. Underworld Goddess is great to out towers like boss monsters. And then a single copy of SP Little Knights uses a double interruption. And then finally a single copy of IP. IP is really good as a 1-of in the build to basically just go for your copy of SP or your copy of Underworld Goddess during the opponent's turn. So that's it for the deck, guys. I've enjoyed this deck. Is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played an Ashen deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try, especially with the Ryzeal engine, which is so good in this deck to help us go for a copy of Banshee or a copy of Detonator, just to help us pop additional cards on the field. It's just such a fun deck to be able to play. So that's good for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad. We'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.